So once again, my name is Ben Ropp. I'm being assisted by Deb Simpson, and welcome to the Wichita Public Library class on downloading ebooks. To get started, what we'll be learning today, we'll go over some FAQs on circulating ebooks, and then we'll get into our ebook catalog, which we call Wichita eReads, which is managed by OverDrive. And then we'll do some talk about searching for ebooks and audiobooks and checkout and download. And we'll be discussing using a Kindle in the first part of the checkout and download section. And then we'll be looking at the Libby app. And then if we have some time, we'll take a look at the cloud library, which is actually a service of the Wichita actually a service of the State Library of Kansas, which you can get with your state library account. And there's a lot of new stuff in Libby, in the app, that's really great. And they just installed a new update. So we'll be covering that. And it might take up most of our time, but if we do have time, we'll talk about Cloud Library briefly. So to get started, if you guys would just post in the chat what device you like to use for your ebooks or audiobooks, whether it's an iPad, an iPhone, an Android tablet or phone, or a Kindle Fire or Kindle e-reader, like a Paperwhite or Oasis, or if you have some other kind of e-reader. And Deb, if you can just, okay, I see some answers coming in, great. Just want to get an idea of where people are coming from. You can also, of course, read ebooks on your computer, and whether you have a Mac or a Windows laptop or desktop computer. I think we have several iPhones or iPads, a Kindle Fire, and an Android so far. So the big difference in that it makes is whether or not you have a Kindle primarily, because getting ebooks for the Kindle is a different process than getting the books on an Android or iPhone or iPad, in which you can use the Libby app. And everything and there also is a website they have set up, that OverDrive set up, called libbyapp.com, and you'll be able to use all the features of Libby through your browser if you're using a computer. I see someone would like to learn on laptop, and we'll certainly cover that. I'll say more about that when we get to the downloading on Libby. So moving on. First of all, circulation FAQs. What is an ebook or audiobook? An ebook is an electronic version of a printed book that can be read or listened to on a computer or handheld electronic device. So an ebook specifically is one that you can read on a device, or on whether it's a computer or a portable mobile device. And an audiobook is actually like an electronic audiobook. It's one that you would have to download or stream the audio onto your device as well. And the maximum checkouts for ebooks in Wichita Public Library is 5 checkouts and 10 holds. And I don't know, Deb, if you could chime in I'm just realizing, I'm not sure. I think the limit for audiobooks is
It's
that
actually included in that, so I
right?
think it's
So
5
you can get
checkouts total.
5 checkouts total, whether it's an ebook or audiobook. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. Thank you for verifying that. So yeah, so it's 5 total, whether it's ebooks or audiobooks. And the checkout period defaults to 14 days, but you can choose 7 or 21 days as your default. And when you change it, it will change that to a default. And if you've read all your books and you want to check out more, but your time's not up, you can return items early. And we will show you how to do that. So you can renew downloads or renew checkouts, that is, within 3 days of the expiration date. If no one else has a hold on it, you can renew checkout of your ebook or e-audiobook. And the reason we have to place things on hold and sometimes is because the publishers only allow one person to use an ebook at a time. If we want more than one person to be able to use an ebook, like some of our very popular titles, we have to pay for additional copies. And incidentally, the cost they charge for the libraries is a different price than if you go to buy it yourself. They charge us more because they see our lending out ebooks as a threat to their business. I happen to think that the more people read, the more they're going to buy, no matter how they read it. But they have a fear about that, so they have upped our prices and created all kinds of limits on how many ebooks we can loan out to you. And there's a lot of information about that online. So the library does now offer downloadable audiobooks. That's new in the last year and a half or so. And so we're really happy to be able to offer you audiobooks now. And happily, those do work right in the Libby app or the old OverDrive app. So accessing Wichita eReads, again, that is the name for our catalog for ebooks on the website, www.wichitalibrary.org. You're going to look for, there's several tabs at the top, and the first tab is Books and More. And when you mouse over that, you'll get a list of items, and the second item after catalog is ebooks and audiobooks, and then you're going to look for Wichita eReads. So it's a couple of clicks to get into the Wichita eReads. So there's a screenshot for the main library website. You mouse over Books and More, click on ebooks and audiobooks, and then you'll come to a page that looks like this, and you'll look for the Wichita eReads link in the text there. It's Wichita eReads underlined. And if you have a smaller device, or you're looking at our website on a mobile device, you may the menu may appear like this. It'll be with a 3-line hamburger menu up in the corner. It says menu. You just click on that or tap on it, and you'll get the same list of options that you have in the other view. Look for Books and More, and then the ebooks and audiobooks. And again, you click through to Wichita eReads. Now, if you're in the catalog looking for our regular print books, that's going to look like this. And although some of the audio or ebook titles will show up in the catalog as electronic titles, you can't check out through our regular catalog. But there is a link under the Downloads tab on the main catalog site. And if you click on that, there will be an option to go to Wichita eReads, as well as our new service, Flipster, which is digital magazines available. And that's a great service if you're not aware. You can check out and download magazines onto your computer or device and read them at your leisure. They check out for a week. We have quite a selection. Not all of our print subscriptions are available there, but many of them are. And then there's also a link to the Kansas digital e-lending site there. So searching for ebooks and audios, this is what the eReads, Wichita eReads site looks like. And you've got your navigation tabs along the top above the green bar. And then there'll be featured collections listed below with covers, and the green bar across the top of the cover indicates that a title is available for checkout. And so there's several ways to search. So of course there's the spyglass icon is for the search. You can just type in a keyword search if you're looking for a particular title or author. And then there's also, for browsing, you're going to use the subjects heading on the top left. There's also the collections are curated lists of items that we think you might enjoy. So this first screenshot here with the best books of 2020, that's a collection. For instance, that's an older collection, of course, from last year. We'll look at this live in a moment. So when you click on collections, you'll get a couple of lists. You've got kids and teens there on the left under the special heading. And then there's ebooks and audiobooks. And each of these listings is a different collection. So we've got, of course, the new editions available now. And then there's some various topics as well. If you're looking for instance, mysteries, you'll want to use the subject or any particular genre or topic, whether fiction or nonfiction. You're going to use the subjects heading for browsing. And in this example, the mystery category is highlighted. And if you click through on that, you'll get a list. And this is the way your search results would come up as well if you were doing this particular search. So notice that the covers with the green bar across the top, as I mentioned, indicates that it's available for checkout. If the bar across the top is white and says wait list, then it's already checked out. And there may be multiple copies, but they're all checked out. And so you can get on the list for to place a hold on that. So the other thing, the way to tell on the Wichita eReads site whether something is an ebook or an audiobook, you have to look down below the author underneath the cover there, and it will say either ebook or audiobook with the little book icon for the ebook and a headphones icon for the audiobook. And on the left sidebar, you've got different ways that you can limit your list or refine your search. And the most useful is the available now. in my opinion. Unless you're searching for a particular author, a particular title or series, and you just want something to read right now, then the Available Now option there on the left is really helpful. So when you click Available Now, so now you see you've got your Available Now heading and the fiction and mystery. Those are the categories that we're browsing. And we've added the Available Now. Now all of them are going to have the green bar available to see that you can check out. So to get more detail about any title, click on the cover. And so this is a record of an available ebook. So you see you have a nice big green button that says borrow. And there's also an option to read a sample. And then there's a description. You can scroll down to get the full description as well. And if a book is on hold, if it has a hold list, then instead of borrow, the green button will say place a hold. And in this example is an audiobook, and it'll also have a link to get a sample. You can listen to a sample. And with the books on hold, I'll point out that down here, it does tell you what your wait time is looking like. And that's, of course, an estimate because people can return things early. But it will tell you how many copies are available and how many total copies are available. And then it will give you an estimated wait time in weeks. So you can also immediately borrow if you know you want a book or you know you want to place a hold. Perhaps you're already familiar with it or it's a popular one. The borrow and place a hold buttons are available from the search results screen. Just below the cover, there's a borrow and a place a hold buttons right on the page there. There's also this little sort of ribbon icon is for saving to a wish list. And OverDrive has updated their system with the new version of Libby, which makes a much better use of tagging. A tag is like a label that you can create to make lists of books. And the wish list is one of the default tags. So when you click the little the ribbon, it will add to your wish list. So with one of the options always, so if you are using a computer and not planning to transfer items to a separate device, then on your loan page here, this is a screenshot of your loans page. You do have the option to listen or read right in the browser. So that's an easy way to do it on a laptop or desktop. You can just click those buttons. It'll open a new tab in your browser. And it is possible to make those accessible offline. If I may have time to do an example of that. So how many of you are interested in audiobooks? I'm guessing that most people are interested in eBooks, but I could be wrong. If you're interested in audiobooks, go ahead and put audiobooks in the chat and we'll take a little informal poll. of what people are interested in, or both, absolutely. So in this next phase, we're going to look at using a Kindle to read your eBooks, and then we'll get to the talking about Libby. So I'm going to quickly go through the process in the PowerPoint here, and then I'm going to demonstrate it, and I'll just cover some of the searching features live. But first, we'll go on. One thing that OverDrive has done is created a link just for Kindle users on the Wichita eReads page, the OverDrive catalog page. They have a link just for Kindle books there. As we'll see, you can always limit a search to only one or the other format. But since a lot of people have the Kindle, they've created a separate tab there for Kindle books. And so when you then click on a link like that, it's going to show, in this case, we have our fiction and mystery search with the Kindle format added. So if you have a Kindle, you know that all of these will be available for Kindle. I will mention that most titles are available in both formats, either Kindle or the other format is EPUB if you're using an Android or an iPhone or a tablet that's an Android or an iPad, then you're going to want the EPUB format. And like I say, most of the titles are available in both, but there are some that are only available in one or the other. So once you find a title you want, you'll click the borrow button, and you'll immediately get a pop-up with the big green borrow button to follow through. And this also has an option to change your loan period. So the default is 14 days, but at this point you can use this drop down to change the loan period to either 7 or 21 days. I'm a slow reader. I like to keep things out for 21 days because it usually takes me at least that long to get through a book. But if you're a fast reader, you may want to have a shorter loan period so that you can have things return automatically, so you can check out more, whatever works best for you. So after you click borrow, then you'll be given the option to immediately read now with Kindle. And if you go into your shelf and you've already checked the book out on your shelf, it will also give you these same options. You'll notice that the download option says EPUB ebook. You can't switch back and forth after you've checked out. So if you have multiple options and you're checking out a book that has a hold list, you'll want to make sure that you pick the format that you want, because you won't be able to switch formats after you checked out without returning it and checking it out a second time. And if it has a hold list, you'll lose your place if you check it back in. So it's maybe deceptive to appearing that at this point you do have a choice, but once you pick one, you can't switch to the other format. So if you just click the Read Now with Kindle button, because Kindle is owned and managed by Amazon, when you click that button, it's going to take you to the Amazon website, and you'll be prompted to log in if you're not already logged in. And so you do need your Amazon password to follow this step. Even if you're doing this directly from your Amazon or your Kindle Fire, it still will probably prompt you for your password. So that's something you do want to keep handy or have it written down somewhere or recorded in some way. You can always try the forgot password option here if you don't, and that's usually easiest if you have a cell phone connected to your account, because they can text you a one-time password for you to put in, which usually just is some kind of a simple number, a 6-digit number. So, and that would let you reset your password. But so once you're logged in, you will be taken here, and you'll see the page for the book you checked out. And on the right-hand side, there's a yellow button. It says Get Library Book, and it will default to your default Android or your default Kindle device if you have more than one. You can use the Kindle app on iPhone or iPad or Android device. And those will show up as well. So it'll usually just go to the main one, whatever you default to. And generally, in my experience, they show up on all your devices once you're signed into and sync your Kindle devices. If you have more than one, it'll probably appear on all of them. So you have to click the Get Library Book, and then you get the message, this very nice message. Thanks, Janelle. This was my coworker, Janelle, created this slide. Your digital library book will be delivered the next time Janelle's 10th Android device syncs, or whatever your default Kindle device is. If you would like to manage your digital titles, go to Manage Your Content and Devices. And that's an important point to remember. If you're reading a book from us on your Kindle device and you want to return it early, you'll have to go into the Manage Your Content and Devices page. And this is so when you mouse over your account name where it says hello, and has your name there, once you're logged into Amazon, you get this drop down. You just have to mouse over it. You don't have to click on it. Just mouse over, hover your mouse over it, and then come down, and there's a Content and Devices option where you can manage those. And this is what the list would look like. And it's going to show all the books you own as well as anything you've borrowed. And in fact, all your old items that you've borrowed will still show up in this list even after you've returned them, until you delete that out of the list. Of course, Amazon wants you to buy the book, which maybe you do if you love it, you'd want to have it. But anyway, to return it early, you have to go to this little button next to the title that's labeled Actions. You click on that button and you'll get the option. You get a bunch of options, one of which is Return This Book. And that is how you return early an item that you have checked out for your Kindle. Okay, I'm going to jump out of here for a moment and bring up our website. So here's our website live in person. So for finding the catalog, as we discussed, you could go to Books and More. I'm just hovering my mouse over that, and I can come down. There's the catalog, digital magazines, which is the Flipster service that I mentioned. And then there's eBooks and audiobooks. So you can click through there. And here's the eBooks and audiobooks page. And you can scroll down and get some information about checkout limits. There's links to get the Libby app from the App Store or Google Play. And there's a handy video from OverDrive about using Libby. And if you keep scrolling down, there's also links to the State Library of Kansas digital items. We'll talk about Cloud Library later if we have time. And you can get your Kansas library card at any Wichita Library branch if you don't, Wichita Public branch if you don't already have one. But right at the top here in the text there, you have to click on that for the Wichita eReads. And it opens a new tab. And here is our current cover page for Wichita eReads. This is a book that's available that is for part of a big library read that is an OverDrive function, not a Wichita system option. And there's, of course, an ad for Libby, but you can scroll down and it's going to have all of the different collections that we have featured. Some of these are relating to the ICT reads book group, book club. There's some just added items, one-word titles. So you can scroll down and just browse. I also have my search option here. And let's say, or if I want to browse subjects, I can keep scrolling down. Here's all of our fiction titles. And I'll note to you that the little number next to each subject heading is the number of books that we have in our system in that category. So for mystery, we have 4,480 titles. Romance, we have 5,477, and etc. Western, we have 349, and so on. And then the nonfiction is also quite a large collection, and it is separated all by topic here. Biography and autobiography, we have 1,356. And then we also have juvenile fiction categories here and juvenile nonfiction. So just to follow the what we did earlier, we'll just select mystery, and then you see I've got my fiction and mystery headings here on the left. The most popular things are usually come up to the top, although this is sorted by date added. You have other sorts available: popularity, relevance, release date. There's also global popularity as well as the library popularity, like what's popular globally. And those are some titles that are globally popular. And then popular with our readers is this selection here. So we see you have a combination of available and waitlisted items. And most of our selections are going to be eBooks, but we do have the audiobooks as well. If you go over to the sidebar here where you can limit your search, if I go to audiobooks, it shows, okay, we have 321 audiobooks in this mystery group. So we're still building that collection. So let's go ahead and check out one of these for Kindle. We'll do the Lee Child Jack Reacher novel called Blue Moon. click on the cover. Here I can scroll down and read a full description. And there's also a review tab here that will show some reviews from Library Journal, Publishers Weekly, and Kirkus, which are some of the main reviews that librarians are inclined to follow. So I'm going to go ahead and borrow this. Now, of course, I'm not signed in. As you can see, the sign in appears, but as soon as I click borrow, it's going to prompt me to log in. And I'm going to go ahead and put in my department card number. And the password is usually the last 4 digits of your phone number. But you can change that. You may have changed it. We can always reset that with the ID in person. So now it's offered to loan me this for 7 days. Here's my, I don't want it to remember the password on this computer. I've got my options here for 7, 14, or 21 days. I'll just keep it 7, click borrow. And now it says it's checked out to you until April 14th. You can borrow 2 more titles because I already have a couple of checked out on this account. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this view to show you my shelf view. That's this button with the 3 books on a shelf, it looks like. You can also use the drop down next to my account to go to loans, but this book icon will take you there as well. So here are my loans. Here I've got 3 items out, and the first one here is the one we just checked out, and I'm going to click on Read Now with Kindle, and it's offering to set my reading preference to Kindle. So if you exclusively use a Kindle and you plan to exclusively use the Kindle for all of your ebooks, then this would be a good thing to set. OverDrive will set your preference to Kindle, so that will default to Kindle. So you won't have to be pestered by the choice every time. I'm going to just not set it, since this isn't, I want to keep both options open for this purposes of teaching. I'll say no thanks. And immediately I'm brought into the Amazon website. And I will go ahead and log in with my goodness. Okay, let's see. So now I'm logged into my account, and whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Here's my book and my Get Library Book option, and it says deliver to Benjamin's Kindle. I click Get Library Book, and I've got this message: your digital library book will be delivered the next time Benjamin's Kindle syncs. Can continue shopping at the Kindle store. To manage my content devices, I'm going to hover over my name here where it says account and lists, and come down to content and devices. And here are all the things that I currently have. A bunch of promotions on the top here. Here's the book that we just checked out. If I click on the actions button here, I can return this book. One other option is download and transfer via USB. Hopefully you won't ever need to do that. You can mark it as read, clear for this page read, buy now. Of course, they want you to buy it. Or return this book. So that's how I would return an item for And then as soon as my Kindle syncs, when it connects to Wi-Fi, if it's not already, then this book will just show up there on my Kindle. So that works pretty well. You don't need to, so you can, as you can see, you can check out the book from a computer or on your phone or something, and then have it sent to your Kindle. You don't need to use your Kindle to check it out. And in fact, if you have a Paperwhite or other black and white e-ink e-reader from Kindle, then you will need another device to check it out on. It's a little bit clunky to do it through the browser. There is a browser on the Paperwhite and the newer e-ink Kindle readers, but they do refer to them as experimental browsers, and they don't work so great. So let's get back to our PowerPoint, and we'll talk about Libby. So there's an older app for OverDrive books called OverDrive, which is available actually for Kindle Fire. It's not as user-friendly as the Libby app, but then if you have a Kindle Fire, you won't be able to get the Libby app currently. I just did an online class that they did about Libby because it was just updated, and they said that they're working with Amazon to see if they can get the Libby to work with Kindle Fire, but it currently is not. It's not available, but that's something they're probably negotiating with Amazon to figure out a way to do that. So hopefully they'll come up with something like that, but it currently Libby's only available for Android or iOS. So if you have a Android phone or tablet, or you have an iPad or iPhone, then you've got Libby available to you from the App Store or Google Play. There's also a browser version of Libby, which you can access at libbyapp.com. And that's really helpful for us for a class, because we can demonstrate what it looks like live without having to connect to another device. So here's the Libby icon. It's going to show up on your device after you install it. And when you first log in, it will say welcome. And there's the first question: do you have a library card? Yes or no. If you click yes or tap yes, then it will say, okay, if you have Libby on another device, you should simply copy your cards across, which it gives you a link to do that up here. Otherwise, you can search for the library or have the app guess your library. And they've improved this. So it didn't used to be able to find our library, but now it seems to work fine. So when I did this recently, it found the advanced learning library here immediately, and I was able to just click, this is my library. And then there's this red button for enter library account details. I typed in my card number, hit next, typed in my PIN number, clicked sign in, or tapped sign in, and then it shows this image of my card with the number on it. There's also an option to rename the card. if you have a device that you're sharing with somebody and there's more than one person with an account that you want to put on there, or if you're a member of some other library somehow that also uses Libby, you can use it with multiple libraries and multiple cards. So you might rename the card to, instead of the number, to have your name across here, or Wichita Library, or whatever you want to rename it to. So you can click next, and here it's giving me the option, do you want to read with Kindle? If you prefer to read with Kindle, we can open books directly to you, to your Kindle device or Kindle app. It does work pretty well with Kindle. So it's a viable option, but if you're using the Libby app, you're probably not going to use your Kindle. So you can just click skip if that's the case. And then here is the Libby homepage. Now this is a redesign of what it used to be. I don't know how many of you have used this before at all, but you'll notice that it's a bit different. So we have 5 buttons across the bottom. And we'll start with the search button, the spyglass, magnifying glass icon brings you to a search page like this. And I don't have a slide showing it, but the 3 dots here will bring up the preferences list, which I'll show you later. So I just did a search for Bridgerton, the popular romance series that's been on Netflix now. And you see it in the results list, it's searched all the titles that have Bridgerton, and it's separated them out, whether they're individual titles or series. And in this example, I clicked on tapped on the first one in order to, if I want to, now there's a couple of ways I can refine my search. There's a refine button, and some of the same options are available under preferences. The difference is that refine will change the search, only the search you're on, whereas preferences will save to the next search as a default. So if you tap refine, you've got several options here. Format, which would be audiobook or ebook. You can limit by subject, language, audience. Supports is where you would select whether it is supports on Kindle or EPUB. And the most useful here is the availability, whether or not. So if you want something to read right now, because of course this first list, or the first 2 items on this list, are checked out and have the place hold instead of borrow option. So if I tapped on availability and selected available now, so now I only have, and it says listing 2 books and 1 audiobook. That's what's available now. I'll also point out here that a nice thing that they do is, if it's in a series, they'll have a little indicator here below the title, next to the star rating. It says whether it's in a series and what number it is in that series. So book number 7 in the Bridgerton series is available. There it is. And I'll tap through on the book. So I'll demonstrate this a little better, but notice the view here is pretty different from the Wichita eReads catalogs page. And one of the things is that the eBooks show up with a rectangular cover like this, and the audiobooks have a square cover, and it has a little icon with earbuds in the Libby. So if you remember in Wichita eReads, the icon was a little headphones. It had a arrow line going over the top. And this one for Libby, since you're on a portable device, most likely they've switched the icon to earbuds. So, and it's square. I kind of wish they would use this on the regular site so you could see at a glance how many are audiobooks and how many are ebooks. But anyway, I might make that suggestion. But in this example, I'm going to just click on the Bridgerton ebook here. And this gives the full view with the full cover. I can scroll down to get the full description. And I can keep scrolling to see the other titles in the series. And keep scrolling further, and it shows the format, author, publisher, release date, and also what formats are supported. So this one is one that's available as a Libby ebook, an EPUB, or a Kindle. So it would be available in any format that we've talked about today. Going back a second. Oh, I went forward. Let's see. Here's the higher up in the description of this. It's in his KISS book. We have the subject headings are listed here. It's kind of like tags. And this is kind of a part of the new redesign. And if you see the little numbers next to it, so it says fiction here, and it says 15K. So that's telling you that this is a fiction book, and it's one of 15,000 fiction books in our collection. And romance it says 6K, there's 6,000 romances, 3K historical fiction, 3,000 historical fiction, and 1,000 humor, 1K. So I could, that is, we'll talk more about tags, and this is sort of how tags look and work in the new Libby. So now, in the next example, I just did a search for Kansas, and on a device it bring up your little keyboard. Here you type it in and hit the search button with the spyglass on it. And here's a search for our collection for everything matching Kansas. There's 110 books. And we can just scroll down on this page, and I'm going to select this next one. It's called Myths and Mysteries of Kansas. I know this is an ebook because it's rectangular and there's no audiobook icon. That's the way it works in Libby. And there's also a read sample option and a tag option. So I can tag a book. That's sort of like adding it to your wish list. Wish list is one of the default or smart tags that they have set up, but you can create your own. So you could say local history or something if you wanted to create a tag for that, or nonfiction, or however you want to tag it for your own organizational purposes. So I just tapped on the cover and I get the full view here, and then I tap on borrow. Oh, I'll mention briefly, they have the new share button here that is based on the share icon in on iOS, on the Apple iPhones or iPads. They're starting to use this icon for sharing more universally. And that would let you, if you wanted to share it, I presumably by text or email or on social media like Facebook or Twitter. That would should bring you up with those options. So I'm going to go ahead and borrow this. And again, I have my option to change my loan period on this. The defaults to 7 days here in this example. I'm not sure if they changed the original default or if this was changed by one of my coworkers possibly. But I think it may have changed the default to 7 days. So the only indication here is this little underline next to it. If I tap there, then I get the choice for 7, 14, or 21 days. And I'm just going to keep 7 days. So I tapped the little X and then tapped borrow. And now it's checked out. It says you have borrowed Myths and Mysteries of Kansas for 7 days. You can open the book immediately, go to or keep browsing or go to shelf. In this example, I'm going to go to shelf. So here's the shelf, and you can see in this sort of tagging system that I've mentioned, on the shelf here, they have, instead of separate pages, or instead of, for navigation, they have these little sort of tag looking things, which takes you to your loans shelf or your holds shelf. And this is my loans shelf. I currently have one item in my loans shelf, so it has the little one there. And there's no holds on this account right now. And you'll see there's a read with option here. Because I haven't set a default with this account, you can set a default to be Kindle or Libby or EPUB. So I tap read with and gives me the choice. I can have it sent to Kindle. And of course, if I tap on Kindle, it's going to take me into Amazon, as we did just a moment ago. But in this example, we're going to show you Libby. So I tap Libby, and then it starts to download the book and gives me this sort of preview of the cover. Once it's downloaded, it's going to show a full-size cover. And I can, if I tap the middle here, it gives me the full-size cover of my book. And if so navigation through eBooks has pretty universally come to work the same way. If you tap on the right side of the page, it will turn the page forward. Tap on the left side of the page, it will turn the page back. And in this case, on Libby, if you tap the center of the page, it will give you these menu options. So I'm going to tap the right-hand side, and here's my cover page. I actually, if you have to tap several times to get to the beginning of the actual text. And then, let me see. So actually there's whoops. It looks like I missed a slide. If I want to bring up this menu like this, you have to tap in the center of the page. So I kind of skipped a step from this screenshot to this screenshot. Tapping the right side will turn the page. Tapping the center will bring up this menu up here and down here. And then to change the font size, you're going to click on the A here at the top in the menu. And that brings up an appearance group, and you can't see it here, but you can scroll down through this. And then the text scale, you can just drag to the right. And then in this next screenshot, this is the maximum normal text scale. But you can get it larger than this, and that is with this bottom choice down here where it says include accessibility sizes. And on the next page, oh, I think I've lost a couple slides somehow. But anyway, so there's this include accessibility sizes. If you tap on this icon, this button here, it gives you some additional room on the text scale to go even higher. So it's can make it very big on the screen. I'll demonstrate this in a minute. You can also then change the background lighting, and you have bright and sepia and dark. The default is the bright with the white background, black text. The sepia has a sort of tan background, the sepia background with dark brown text. And then the dark option is the black background with white text. Coming back to the bright here, and then if you scroll down on the appearance menu, there you can change to the different fonts. And the Open Dyslexic is one that's designed, it looks like this over here, and it's to increase the readability of text for readers with dyslexia. So that's useful for such people. There's also a custom setting where you can specify whether you want serifs or sans serif fonts and other options. So once I'm done with this, I can hit the back button. It'll take me out of the book back to my shelf. So once I've opened it in Libby, now it has the option to open in Libby again. I don't have the option to open this in on the Kindle at this point. In order to get it for Kindle, I would have to return the book and check it out again. So you're not able to switch formats once you've checked it out, once you've downloaded it in one or the other. So moving on, under Manage Loan is the next page. There's an option to return early. And here I'm gonna go ahead and tap through. Up here you can see that it's added a new tag, and this is a smart tag that's an automatically applied. It's a tag called borrowed, so that even after I return it, I think it will still be tagged in my list of previously borrowed items. And to return early, I just tap the return button, and then I go into find your next read. And then the next few shots or screenshots or show some of the search options or browsing options. I might pause here and just ask if there's any questions. Again, please throw those in the chat.
Ben,
Yes.
can you go through those are new icons down at the bottom where the Libby circle is. Can you go over what each of those means? Because they're different.
Certainly. And let's see. Let's go out and just open Libby here. And I've got the I've got it set up here in the browser. And this is at libbyapp.com. This recreates the experience of the app on your browser. So if you're using a laptop computer or desktop, you can get the Libby experience in your browser going to libbyapp.com. And this is when you first opened it, it's going to, once you've logged in, it will remember you. You won't have to do this every time, but it's saying, welcome. First question, do you have a library card? Yes. And I'll say, guess my library. And it checks my IP address probably and discovers that there is a library near my location, which is the Wichita Public Advanced Learning Library. This is my library, so I'll click, this is my library. If it didn't find the right library or I wanted a different one, I could search with the city and state or zip code. Oh, nope, I don't want to keep looking. I want to say, this is my library. Going to enter my account details. And let's see, I've got this copied. So type it in again. Hit next and put in my PIN. Sign in. Okay, so, and I can rename the card here if I wanted to. I'll just call it Tech Trainers because this is an account that we just use for training. Click Save. And now it's got the name that I created on the card here. And it also has a summary here, 3 of 5 loans, 0 of 10 holds. And then I click Next. And it gives me the option to set Kindle as my default. They're trying to make it easy as possible for people with the Kindle, even though Amazon probably doesn't want us loaning books or make it easier for us to loan out books since they're selling the books. But anyway, in this case, I will skip that and don't save my password. So here we have the 5 buttons across the bottom. And this wasn't, it's a pretty good system once you learn it, but I have to admit it's not the most intuitive with the way they've got this set up. So the middle button is the menu option. Move that over. Let me see so the menu option gives me a sort of a backstage view where I can add a new card or add a library. That's also where the help and support is. And if there are any notifications, they're going to show up here. Then the notifications, I'm going to go ahead and click hide. So that is the menu button. And that's a definite change from what it used to be. If you do have multiple cards, you can switch cards with that. Now this little card icon is actually for searching. So that brings me to the page I'm already at. And if I scroll down, you see it's not totally obvious, but I can scroll down here and look at there's several guides here, and then the collections that are featured. And I really like the way they have the audiobooks with the square cover and the eBooks with the rectangular cover. And you can see at a glance what are audiobooks and what are eBooks. So that is the card button that is for searching the library. Previously, I think they just had the word library here. but the card indicates the library where you can search and browse for books. And again, with this sort of tagging system, they have some options here to search. I can get a list of the new things, the popular things. The random selection will show me absolutely everything in a random order, listing 23,513 books and 2,453 audiobooks. And they're just random. So that's kind of fun. I'm going to go back. And there's 114 subjects and a total of 25,000 books available. So on the opposite side from the library icon is the shelf icon. It has sort of books on a shelf. That is my shelf. And currently I have 3 loans. I scroll down, here's the Myths and Mysteries of Kansas, an audiobook that I downloaded, and the Lee Child book that we downloaded earlier. And I have 0 holds. And now my borrowed tag list is, this is what they call a smart tag, titles I've borrowed in Libby. You do have an option to change this to a different, you can edit the tag to say something else, or you can delete it altogether. Here's the change button. And I can make some changes there. These are the different types of, some different types of tags. Regular tag is you decide what titles are added to this tag. So you would have to manually apply it. But if you wanted it to be just a regular tag, you could remove the borrowed tag altogether and just make it something else. I think if I hit this, no, it doesn't do anything. Okay. So I'm going to go back, use the little arrow here where next to shelf, and I could click through for my holds. There's nothing on hold or no outstanding holds right now. And so those are my tags. So I covered most things, the basics. So basically, to recap, I go to the left side of the menu button. The little library card icon is to search my library. I click there to browse or search. The search button is on the left here. And then I have my shelf icon. And then on the far right, we have a timeline, is the little clock icon. And this shows all of my activity. I just started using this account for demonstration purposes. So it's just showing the 3 titles that I currently have checked out. It's telling me how long each checkout was for. And it has a calendar system. So this is showing April 2021. If I had a longer history, I could scroll down and go back in time to show everything that I've checked out. And I can jump to a certain calendar or month with this button here on the left, on the right, to sort through my timeline. And then up at the actions here, there's a nice option now to export the timeline. I can also disable activity recording. If I don't want it to track my checkouts, I can disable it altogether. And I can also remove all activities if I don't want to be tracked like that. I'll remember just fine for myself. I don't need the app to tell me. But so these are some good options for if you want to opt out of these options. So it is an opt-out feature so that by default, it's going to remember all of your checkouts and save them here in your timeline. If I go to export timeline, it gives me 3 choices here: a table, a spreadsheet, and data. If I click on table, it shows me a table, and I can scroll left and right. I'm not sure if this is exactly how it would appear if I was on a small device. It would, it might look like this. And if I don't know if it would have the scroll like this. This is how it's appearing in the browser. This is a new feature. I haven't played around with it much yet. This is a data export option. So this, if I had been checking out books for a couple years, all of my old checkouts would show up in this list. I'm just going to use the browser button to go back. The other export option is a spreadsheet, and that actually downloads a comma-separated file. If you notice in the corner here is my Libby timeline -all.csv. That's this, and I can open that. It's going to probably open it with Excel. Yes. So here's an Excel spreadsheet of my my titles, the 3 titles here that I have checked out, and I can and it's got links to the covers. I think I can activate that so then when I click on it, it opens the cover image in my browser. So let's see, where was I? There's my timeline. Okay, so that's exporting my timeline to a spreadsheet, and it has an ISBN, a timestamp, activity. This was borrowed, and the details shows the length of my loan and the library I checked it out from. Okay, we have a few minutes left. If there's no specific questions about Libby, again, to recap, the new controls has the little card icon for searching the library, and the shelf icon for looking at my shelf. This is their replacement. I used to say library on the left side. Now it has the card icon, and it said shelf on the other side, and it has this bookshelf icon. And you have your timeline and your search button. And in the middle is the menu for kind of a backstage view. So let me come back to my PowerPoint. I'm making this available. One thing I cover here is going through preferences. When you do a search, you have preferences on one side and you have refine on the other. The preferences are more permanent, so they're going to remain for your next search. When you go to preferences, you get this dialog here. You have format, language, audience, supports. That's whether it supports Kindle or EPUB or Libby book, availability. And these are the defaults. Availability is set to everything. Format is any. So in this example, I'm going to specify that I'm looking for audiobooks. So this is where I do it in preferences, format, tap on any. And it gives me the choice: books, audiobooks, or magazines. We don't currently have magazines available from the Wichita Public Library, not in Libby app. That is to say, we do have magazines available, but it's in an app called Flipster. So we select audiobooks, and there's my selection on the next screen here. And I'm also going to change the availability to available now. So I tap on everything, and I can click on or tap on available now. And this shows the preferences that I just chose. So I have format, audiobook, availability, available now. I click apply preferences. And now you see these sort of tag icons have been updated. So now there's with the audiobooks available now, it's showing 1K or 1,000 available, and there's 80 subjects. And I'm just going to scroll down on this view, and so you can see that under preferences, it now has the number 2 here to indicate that my preferences are being applied to this list. And now I have the same librarian curated lists here, or collections. I think we refer to them as collections. It's just filtered out, so it's only these is showing in this group with which the Asian American Pacific Islander voices for the own voices category in the ICT reading club. It's just showing 2 audiobooks here. If I scroll down, then there's just added titles, and here I'm going to select this one called April Rain Tree. And so here's my full view of the title. I can scroll down to get the full description, but I'm just going to go ahead and borrow it. This will also demonstrate what the audiobooks look like, since that is a relatively new collection. So this will look familiar to what we did earlier. There's my big borrow button, and then I'm going to go to shelf, and you'll just see it in the shelf. And there you see there's a new tag option. It looks like a piece of cake. I think that's like a favorite, maybe. I'm not sure, but that will bear investigation. So if we tap open in Libby, now it's really the only option here for the audiobook. I would be able to, if I used my browser on my computer, I could open it there, but this is the Libby app. That's really the only option, is to open it in Libby from here. And this is what the audiobook then looks like. We have your progress listed at the top. We're at 0% out of 7 hours. And you can click play to play. And then you have your little buttons for going 15 seconds before or after. And you've got sort of a timeline down here. At this point, it has played for 5 minutes. It's at 1%, and there's 7 hours left. You also have little indicators here of what's in front and ahead in the current chapter. So there's 5 minutes. I'm 5 minutes into the chapter with 22 minutes left in this chapter. So the controls up here, we have the playback speed is the first one. And there's a fine tuning option here, or I can choose a preset at normal speed 1.00 times, or 1.25 times, 1.5 times, 1.75, or 2 times as fast. And with the fine tune option, so I can get it. Usually there's a little spot where it doesn't sound too abnormal. If you go twice as fast, it really sounds unnatural, but you can follow it if you're trying to get through something quickly. About 1.5 times is almost not noticeable. That doesn't quite seem, it doesn't necessarily feel rushed, but you can fine tune it to where it kind of sounds kind of normal-ish, but it might be a little faster than normal if you want to get through it quicker. Or or if it's a nonfiction book that you're less interested in kind of savoring the experience and just getting the information, maybe. That's a nice option. The next one in the menu here is the sleep option, sleep timer, and it has some presets as well. And then there's bookmarks and highlights. Tapping the bookmark button will add or edit a bookmark. Tap holding the button records a highlight. The app will remember where you are in the story. If you play it for 10 minutes and close the app and come back to it, it will remember where you're at. The bookmark here is for something you want to go back to later. Say after you're done with the book, you want to go back to the bookmark or the highlight to maybe listen to something again. We're about out of time. Let's see, at about a minute left. I'm going to go ahead and post a link to the a copy of this PowerPoint into the chat here. And it's a Google Drive link to the PDF. And I'm also going to post a link to the evaluation. I would ask, please, if you could, let me see. Then evaluation is the second link there. We also have a book a librarian service, which is one-on-one service. Later in this PowerPoint, there are some slides about Cloud Library with the State Library of Kansas. It's works similarly. Your Kansas Library card account will be a 6-digit number, and your password will be your birth date in a format of 2 months, 2 days, and 4 years. That is month, month, day, day, year, 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 year. So 2 digits for the month and day each, and then 4 digits for the year is your password. And the State Library has really good help services, and any of our branch libraries can issue a State Library account. They have some differences. This is the icon for the Cloud Library app. And you can look through this PowerPoint later. Excuse me. But here's a quick summary of some of the differences with their system and ours. In the Cloud Library, everything checks out for 21 days. They have a larger collection than we do. They allow checkout of 10 items at a time. I do find that sometimes with some of the bestsellers that are popular, or maybe not the most popular, but I have found things there that are not in our collection, and vice versa. But I was sometimes able to find items that had a hold list in OverDrive, but Cloud Library had items available. So if you do want more help, give us a call at 261-8500. Ask for a technology trainer or one of us by name, and we'll do our best to help you over the phone if we can, or we can make an appointment for you to come in for an hour, and that's a free service for the library. Thanks for tuning in. I'll hope to see you soon.